Welcome back to our real estate morning show. I'm Dylan. This is my wife Jennifer. Combined, we've been helping families make smart real estate decisions for 12 and 13 years now. This is our real estate morning show where we give you all the real estate news in the GTA and Toronto, as well as some real estate tips. Let's jump right into the show. All right, so let's jump right in. Why don't you start us off with a couple of topics that you want to discuss today?
Yeah, absolutely. My first topic today is actually townhouses.
Okay.
So great article that came out, I think it was last week, that we saw, and it was talking about just with everything that's been going on in the market, the growth of the townhouse. So,
Right.
I mean, they've been around forever. Everyone knows there's kind of that middle step, right? Condo, townhouse. But a lot of people were making the jump condo to semi and then going detached. And so even as far as 2008, the townhouse sales only comprise about a quarter of the sales in the low-rise sector of the market, whereas in today's market, as of October of this year, they comprise 42%. So there's been a big shift there in that sales level. And a big part of the reason is that now that gap has been made bigger between, the condo and the semi, that the townhouse is filling, or the detached, the townhouse is filling that need for a lot of people. And a lot of agents are talking to their clients and saying, hey, look, condos are really small. If you're a young family or you're planning on starting a family or you're looking at investment down the road, a townhouse might make more sense for you. And the affordability gap is a little bit smaller, right? On top of all of that, there's also the fact that a condo townhouse actually makes a really good income property as an investment because you still have really good rents, especially in the downtown core, which is where a lot of the townhouse condos are, right? But you're getting the high rent. You have low maintenance fees, not as high as a condo building, so you're not paying for all the amenities in that, and you're getting a bit more square footage, so tenants are more likely to be interested in that type of a product than a condo, right?
Yeah.
So on a lot of different factors right now with the way the market's going, townhouses essentially are filling a big gap, which is why we're seeing that growth. And so it's just something, I guess, to look at and think about, that your only options aren't a condo or a detached house. Like, there are things in between, and townhouses are kind of becoming more and more popular. I mean, we live in a townhouse.
Yeah.
Love the townhouse. It's pretty great. And there's a lot of space, right? So you don't necessarily feel like you're in this tiny, cramped spot. So I don't know. It's just an interesting article. I really thought it was something we don't talk about often. We often cover condos detached, and we kind of skip the middle. But I think a lot of buyers, with where the average price point is right now, are actually falling right in that townhouse range. And it's something that, is useful. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I feel like it's not that new of a product by any means. I feel like townhouses have been a starter home for a lot of people for a while now. It is great to see that they're getting so much more of the market share. And that does make sense. With detached homes being as expensive as they were, I think more people have to get in there. And I think builders are building more of them because they fit more in their development plans these days.
Right.
Like, if you look at all the development that happened out in Milton in the last 10 years, a good chunk of that they did put out townhouses out there, and everything coming north. Good chunk of every development is going to be townhomes.
Yeah, it's actually interesting that you mentioned that, because Milton is one of the top areas. So Oakville, Milton, and I believe Caledon were the three areas where the majority of townhomes are actually selling at a really high level, because people in those areas aren't as inclined to buy a condo, right?
Yeah.
And so the townhouse kind
and
of
much more
solves that
affordable
problem.
there still, right? Like, we're talking about some of Richmond Hill's still hovering around 900,000. I think we were like mid 800s for a townhome as it came down, but they were up around $1 million at one point. So it makes sense that price point wise, as you go out from the city, you will see that volume increase, because they do fit that gap perfectly of the step up just above, say a downtown condo or a
so
condo.
Brampton was actually the highest, followed by Milton, then Whitby, Vaughan, and Oakville, and then Caledon.
Gotcha.
So so it is kind of the outskirts where the boom is happening a little bit, because as you mentioned, developers are building a lot more of them. I know people that have bought the pre-built townhouse in Milton, sold it, and moved up already, and done great on that movement, right? Because that growth was just there, and it was good timing. And it's definitely something that I think is still a viable option in the townhouse world. But even if you're looking at downtown, and we're talking about even condo towns, you do get a bit more space. The price isn't, it's not that big of a gap between a condo and a condo town. And you're saving on maintenance fees and from an income. So when you're making that decision, it is a conversation that, or something you can add into the conversation. A lot of people skip condo towns because, like, if I want a town, I want it to be freehold.
Yeah.
And that's a conversation that I've heard and had many times. But the reality is that when you think about big picture and wealth building and all that stuff, like, does it make sense to do a condo town, especially downtown in a prime area, and then hold on to it because the rents are so strong that those numbers are now making sense.
Yeah.
Right? So, yeah.
No, I think it's good. I think that that all makes sense. I'm still hesitant on the condo element of it, just because with lending being as stiff as it is right now, the maintenance fees take up such a chunk of what your qualifications. But if your choice is between a condo and a condo town, and you can afford the town, definitely go for it. Like you said, we are cutting out some of the maintenance fees that you would normally see.
Yeah, exactly. That's the beauty of the condo town, is that you're not paying the same as in a building where there's amenities, right? Yeah. You're just not getting the amenities. So, so that was my first topic.
Perfect. What do you got next for us?
My next one is more for the house. It's about insulation.
Perfect.
And a super exciting topic, but an important one, I think. And really, all I wanted to kind of cover here was just the idea that, we're coming into the winter months. We've had snow on the ground the last couple of days. I mean, it's not right now 'cause it's been raining, but we have had, and you just got to think about, from a budget point of view and from maintaining your house, what can you do to keep it more efficient, and also to make it less cold. Like some homes, you get those drafts, you don't know where they're coming from, the windows. And so what I wanted to talk about was the different types of insulation and just kind of looking into maybe doing that before the winter really gets here, because you can in the long run save yourself some money. So the first thing is, obviously, if you notice that your house isn't retaining heat well, if you notice that your upstairs is colder than your downstairs, things of that nature, you probably have an insulation problem. So first thing you should do is stick your head in the attic, take a look around. See what your insulation levels are like. If they're really low, or if you have really old insulation, odds are it's not going to be that efficient.
If you're seeing all the joists running across, you don't have enough insulation.
You don't have enough insulation, exactly. And if it's really old, it's probably not as efficient as it would have been originally. So you got to look at upping those levels and getting that fixed. So the article that I'm referencing is from Toronto Stories. It was actually written by Ty Pennington, who used to be on those shows. And he's talking about foam insulation. Yeah,
he's a big advocate of spray foam. That's the thing. All these guys that are known for their shows and do a great job, they always pick the top of the line products because they believe in them, and it makes sense. We'll see what the article has to say, but again, budget doesn't always is usually the way you dictate your renovations. And so some of the spray foam stuff might not be for you, but it is definitely the best product out there, I would say, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it is a little bit more expensive than going to like the store and buying the fiberglass insulation. However, it is also way more efficient. All right, so the spray foam, and what they're talking about is that you can get into all the nooks and crannies. You can get up tight. If
it seals as it expands.
It seals as it expands. If you're in the attic, around all your vents, around all that sort of stuff, it's going to create like a barrier, right? So it's way more efficient. It also reduces allergy issues, which is becoming a big thing, especially with the fiberglass and like the older products, that allergens are getting into the air and then it's going if your heating system. You don't have that with.
And they're not always a perfect seal, right? And so even if there's a slight gap, even if you're at the R50 level or even an R60. If there's a gap somewhere in the insulation, it's ineffective.
Another big factor to the spray foam is that it's actually a barrier against flooding, which fiberglass is not. So if you have it in the attic and there's an issue with your roof, it's going to create an extra layer if there is water kind of penetrating through the roof. So that's a big one. And overall, it's easier to install. You don't have to pull out all the old stuff to put it in. You can just put it right on top of it or right beside it. Whereas with the other stuff, you have to haul everything out, clear it all out, and then lay all the fresh stuff. So it's a bigger job. Fiberglass is itchy if you've ever had to work with it. It's not a fun job.
No, it's not.
And in the short run, you may save a bit of money up front, but long run, according to the article and Ty, you're going to save money on the efficiency of the product. So at the end of the day, the point that I'm trying to make is, it's winter, it's getting cold, it's going to get colder. If you're feeling like your house is drafty and inefficient, look into it now. Save yourself all those heating bills over the next couple of months, because you will see it go up, especially with all of our costs going up for everything, utility wise. So there is an element to it there, and the debate of spray foam or insulation is really a personal decision, I would say. There's no right or wrong. The reality is the right thing to do is make sure you've got insulation that's working for you, right?
Absolutely. Especially if you have cold rooms, and you can notice the difference.
Or an older home, right? That's often a big thing, that older homes aren't as insulated. So, look into that as well. Make sure your attic is retaining.
And again, we're just talking about the attic today. Behind the walls, that's a bigger renovation. We won't worry.
We're not getting into that.
Don't worry about that one. But just check out your attic and see how it's going.
Make sure. And also keep in mind that it's a year-round savings if you make sure your insulation is on point and you're up to code, because you're also going to retain your AC in the summer months.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's going to be
Year-round
efficient.
benefits.
It's not just, the 3 months of winter benefits that we're talking about that I think
Yeah.
a lot of people think of. When then they're like, oh, it's going to be spring in 3 months, it'll be fine. But, long term, it won't be.
Yeah, and when February kicks in and it's freezing cold,
Yeah.
it's gonna be too much.
It's gonna be freezing. So yeah, those are my two
Perfect.
topics for today. So
I'll jump right in. Yeah. So unfortunately, I'm not bringing the happiest of news today, but last night we found out that GM is likely going to be closing their Oshawa plant.
Yeah.
It's Monday morning as we're filming this, and that's when the meeting was supposed to take place with everybody. They're supposed to let the employees know, so we don't have all the news yet, but that is 2,500 jobs that are likely in jeopardy. Right before the holidays, so really kind of crappy news.
Unfortunate,
and hopefully everybody there finds a new spot. There's, I believe, the federal government and the Ontario government has already started talking about if there's something they can do to help soften this for those guys.
That's good.
But anyway, so today I'm going to talk a little bit about Christmas budget because we're coming into that season. We just finished Black Friday.
Yep.
I don't know about you guys, but we did have an amazing weekend. We watched the Tiger Woods Phil Mickelson pay-per-view on Friday,
Yep.
which was entertaining. I enjoyed it. I'm happy that, spoilers, that Mickelson won.
Yeah.
But the production quality was just
Horrible.
horrendous to watch.
Yeah.
It was so rough.
Yeah, I had a hard time watching it, and
yeah.
I was really excited to watch it, so it was super disappointing. But, I mean, the quality of play, obviously, is always going to be amazing, but when the production makes it hard to watch Phil Mickelson play Tiger Woods, like, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah, and neither of them really had amazing games, but we did see a couple of really nice shots. And again, it was a good competition.
There was a handful that were pretty spectacular,
and then we got some Christmas decorating done and all that stuff, so that was fun. But as you get into narrowing down your budget, a lot of people don't factor in the additional costs that come along with the holidays. Everybody thinks about your gift budget. And so I'm referencing a nice article here where they talk a lot about you need to start including the other things when you're coming up with your budget. Like you might be doing extra lunches out, lunches or dinners out with friends or coworkers, stuff that normally wouldn't be in your budget that you're jumping on. It could be that extra babysitter when you're going out with the family or the wife or whatever,
right.
and now you need to have somebody in there, or extra holiday donations that you make to your favorite charity, all the different traveling and entertainment that you do around the holidays, going to see a show, stuff like that. You need to start factoring that in. And on Real Estate Professional Magazine, they did a similar article about holiday budgets, and they said that based on a survey from Manulife Bank, 6 in 10 people have no budget for the holidays, and half of those people say they're going to go into debt to buy presents. They said that these are pretty consistent numbers. It's kind of what they see every year. And we know everybody's probably done it once or twice. You've bought that extra gift on the credit card. You've held that Christmas party, put a little bit extra on the credit card to get what you want and make sure that everything's perfect. And there was this great quote that one of the ladies in the budget article said, and she said, "You can't be all things to all people. You have to make some choices. You can't afford to do everything." So that same enthusiasm, you can't bring it everywhere when you're like, hey, I'm going to, pick up this thing or pick up this gift or pick up that.
Yeah, or the extra bottles of wine or...
Exactly.
Yeah.
So be on a good budget and just be conscious of it. They did say, of those with a budget in mind, have to expect to go in debt and specifically using credit cards. And we know that credit cards obviously have that very high interest rate.
Yeah.
And even our line of credits, with everything that we've been talking about, interest rates going up, you're seeing more costs on there than you've ever seen before. So when that dreaded January 18th bill comes, I forget what day it is. They always say it's the most depressing day of the new year because that's when you get your your credit card bills
from the
holidays.
Yeah, I don't know what the date is.
Try to make as many smart decisions this year as you can to avoid that being a shitty day for you. Yeah. But still, go out and enjoy the holidays and make sure that it's about the spirit and enjoying each other's company and being with friends and family. Don't dig yourself into a big hole over the holidays.
And I think it's one of those things too where, we get, and I know we've been guilty of this many times, where you get caught up in the great gift and it's more expensive than maybe you thought. But you're like, oh, it's just $50, but then you do that for everybody. Yeah. And all of a sudden you've spent an extra, $300-$400, whatever that looks like. And your budget's just completely out the window. And you're like, oh, it doesn't matter. It'll be fine. Yeah. At the end of the day, it's not, right? Yeah. And having that attitude, as much as it's the more fun way to approach it, it can be harder in making the holidays more about the time you spend with everybody. And have that conversation with people and say, this year, this is what we want it to be. And so we're not going to get these crazy expensive gifts, but let's enjoy our time together.
We also
It's a nice
just
way to
purged
do
our storage room over the weekend with so much stuff that we have not used or anything like
Yeah.
that. So it's a good reminder that, hey, we don't need all this
We
stuff.
have a ton of stuff. We do not need more. Yeah. Exactly. So.
Anyways, I think that's our show for today. We'll wrap it up nice, and we'll see you again on Thursday.
Yeah. So as always, the article links will be down in the description below. If you have any questions, any comments, any topics you'd like us to talk about, please let us know. We love all the feedback that we're getting. We'd love to get more from you guys. Shows every Tuesday and Thursday, so don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. And other than that, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you on Thursday.